Good day to all. Welcome to Straight Talk with Greg Middleton. My name is Alexandra. With this introduction, here is Greg.
Good day to everyone, and welcome back to Straight Talk. And I've been having a lovely conversation with my friend, Phlunte Riddle. And we're going to pick up where we left off last week and just go right into it. So, Phlunte, once you retired, then what did you do from that point?
So funny you use the word retired. I said, I don't know how to find that retirement.
I know.
It's like, wow.
Right.
You know, after 28 years, 8 months, and 15 days of service. And I use that because people round up to 29, 30. It's fine.
Right.
But I did every day of that.
Did you take some time off, though, just to...
I did not. I did not.
Wow.
I literally started my doctoral program within a month of
I think I ran into you when you were doing that.
Yeah, I did, and that was a 3-year journey, and wow, that's a lot of work, but it was good. It was good because it gave me, I always wanted to know the theory behind all the practical and real life that I had done, and so it's an organizational management, but the doctorate really helped me. I used to say, oh, okay, that's my sister. Okay, that's my husband. Okay, that's okay. You're not supposed to do that, but how do you not as you're studying? But I really dipped into the psychology of the health for mental health in regards to forming of the mind or the brain for from birth. So I'm big into 3 to 5. Wow. You know, and how critical that is. And people look, some people, and I use this because I've heard this term, those years don't count. But those are the most formative.
Formation years.
Yes, they are.
Right.
And the brain is the most absorbent at that time. So that's that part that was just curious to me, and I'm glad I really dipped into it. And it leads into what I ended up not knowing I was going to do. My mother used to say, and I used to say that all the time, I do, is nothing's wasted. You use everything. And so I did that. You know, I had an unsuccessful run for Senate. I was had been recruited. I ran, but nothing's wasted. Boy, did it teach me.
That experience.
Oh, that experience. And so, and then Assemblymember Chris Holden, after I was down for about 3 months, and that's all I've been literally what I call, you know, retired for 3 months. And then Assemblymember Chris Holden contacted me, good friend from when he was a city council person, and said, Phlunte, I'd like for you to come and work with us. And I became his district director.
Right, I remember that
yes.
too.
And so I didn't even know what that was. And so I learned the district. At that time, you know, we had South Pass. Now with the redistricting, we're locking Yada. We no longer have South Pass. Altadena, Monrovia, Pasadena, which is the largest city. And then Duarte, the mountains, not the people. Isn't that just most interesting? And Bradbury. And then you go all the way east. And so I was going to San Dimas, Laverne, Claremont, parts of the northern portion of Rancho Cucamonga, Glendora. And so that became my life for literally the 2 years that I was there with him and learning the district and helping to formate, you know, I did bills from beginning to end. And just seeing how the process, how the sausage is made. And I was like, whoa, look at this.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask you. How do you get trained for such a job and for such a position? But you've already been through it.
I have been doing it. I mean, obviously, you're not the legislator, but you get to watch how he maneuvers the assembly member, how he is able to work with his 79 colleagues.
79?
There's 80 assembly members.
Wow.
You have to be able to work with not just your 79 colleagues, but
over the whole state of California.
Yes, and then there's 40 senators.
Wow.
So you also have to navigate those relationships.
Talk about playing politics. You have to know politics.
I used to tell my kids when I have 3 sons, I used to tell my sons, you know, this is a Sesame Street word I want you to know. I've said this throughout their life. It's called collaboration, cooperation, you know, and they were just like, oh, here she goes again. But that's how I navigated at work, emotional intelligence. You know, you have to know you have to know your triggers so you know how you impact other people.
Well, tell me this, is the Assembly, is that a legislative body?
Yes.
Okay.
It is a legislative body.
Explain that to people how that works. You create bills or you... promote bills?
So most of the bills come from the community.
Okay.
So people have come and said, like one particular bill that I was fortunate that Assemblymember Holden allowed me to work on was a mental health regional center bill. And it came from meeting with a group of individuals at the office who were very concerned and upset because their children had at various stages maybe autism or speech delayed or this or that, and they needed assistance from the regional centers. And most of the time things work out well, but in their experiences they had not. And how do you get access when you're or transparency on what's available to you, regardless of, and it impacts everyon.
Right.
So there's no there's no Republican, Democrat. There's no social economic highs and lows. Nobody cares. Your child needs help. And that's the way you serve in the police department. You don't get
a public servant.
You're a public servant, and you don't say, I only serve these people. Only if you walk this way. Only if you have these color eyes. You just serve. And so I was taken aback by that. I shared it with Mr. Holden, and he said, well, go to the regional centers, find out what's going on, talk to them. Was not pleased with some of the answers. And so we talked about a bill, and when you're working with the legislative team in Sacramento, then you have to start talking about what's it going to cost. Always, what's it going to cost? And that then they tell you yay or nay.
Well, it sounds like you almost have to get a doctor's degree in how to politics.
Well, you need to know how to...
The system.
You need to know not just the system, but how you're going to move things forward. But it's also about how you talk to people. Because when I was initially told no, there was no money for it, I said, okay, this is not something that just impacts Pasadena. This impacts people across the state of California. And looking at the numbers, and so you come back and you say, okay, this is the research, this is why this is important, how can we make this happen? And I was just tenacious, all get out. But I was polite. And even though I was frustrated, I was still saying, I need this. How do you help me get this? And I remember my mother said, more honey than vinegar.
There you go. There you go. It takes a certain type of personality, I think, to be successful in politics, because everybody is so much undercurrent, so much backstabbing, all these other things. But you have to know the territory. Like it's like swimming in this gigantic ocean. You got big sharks, you got big whales, you got big all this, and then you have to learn to navigate around all. But how do you keep your integrity in going through stuff like this?
Well, and I have had, so there's so many issues: housing, there's homeless, there's and
I want to talk about that a little bit more.
There's education, there's mental health. Since COVID, we all are challenged with mental health. If you think you're not, you're not being realistic.
Of course.
But I say that because each district, like I said, there's 80 representatives in the assembly.
State of California,
Our districts are different. Our districts are different.
Culture and other ways.
An array. And so what works in District 41, which is part of our district, which is our district, may not work for 52.
Exactly.
And so I have to be able to work and help that legislator who's in District 52, who's they may say that's not an issue for us here. Why should I co-author this with you? Why should I, help you? Then I had to say, well, what's important to you?
Give and take. How can I help you help me? I like that.
And that's the world.
Well, tell me this, so when a bill is proposed, does it cover the whole state of California or just regions?
No.
A bill is a bill for the whole state.
It's for the state. So what we did with the regional center in 42, Mr. Holden was able to get through the Assembly and the Senate, and then Governor Brown signed it. Because you still have to get past the governor. Okay.
Oh, God,
You still have to go up to the governor and let them see the need for it. Then it becomes a state bill.
Tell me this.
State law.
How interactive is the governor with the Assembly?
Extremely.
That he works hand on hand trying to get bills through. He proposed his bills.
He has a way. and it's a he right now.
Right.
But he has a way of making sure that you know where his priorities are and where they're not.
Yeah, I like him. He seems to be a good governor.
Well, look, he appointed me as a commissioner.
Right.
And he really stuck with me, and I'm grateful. You know, I'm a commissioner. I oversee all of the incarcerated youths that are literally.
Let's talk a little about that.
Yeah, it's
Tell me about that.
Well, interesting. I put in for one commission.
Right.
And then the appointment secretary, you know, they call you and they say, hey, you know, you can have this commission over here, what you put in for, but we think your skill set, your education, your understanding of the legislature, we think it would be better suited over here.
Nice.
And so, you know, when they said the discharge hearings for incarcerated youth, again, second time I had to say, well, I'm not sure what that is, but but I like to find out. So I did my research. They sent me a lot of information, you know, via internet, and I said yes. And I had to be confirmed by the Senate.
Wow.
That means I go to the Rules Committee, which was the pro tem Tony Atkins, and the 5 other senators, and share my story, share my background, because they want to make sure I can be fair.
Of course.
To our youth, who are not only have traumatized their victims, but they are dealing with trauma.
Wow.
And so I was confirmed, you know, unanimously by not just that 5. They moved me to the Senate floor, where there's 40 senators.
Wow.
And those 40 senators the majority have to say yes. And so mine was 39-0.
It seems so complicated.
Ooh, was it ever?
I mean, if you look at national politics and you see the Senate and the House and the President.
Yeah, but don't look at federal. That's.
It's just, people are just blown away with this.
Yeah, it's too much.
I mean, I don't trust what's going on out there. And they don't trust each other.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's like well, let's don't go there.
Yeah.
Let's stay
with the state. Okay, at least we get things done here.
But you were talking about, see, I did a lot of work in mentoring our youth, and that's my passion too. We have to help our kids. I mean, if we don't provide them, like I said, aid and education and resources, then they got to go steal.
Well,
so we have to help them.
One thing police officers don't see.
Okay.
Is the trauma that the youth that may have committed a crime has gone through. That's not their, they're just for the crime. You take the report, you arrest the person, you do the investigation. It's not that it's just a job. You have a lane, and their lane is to reduce the crime on the street. And then it goes to the DA. The DA decides whether it's going to be a filed or not. Okay. The officer has no real input other than the advocate. But the DA has to look at the law and
you
say,
collect evidence and all those other parts.
And then it goes to the judge or the jury, and they decide whether that was a good arrest. Did that officer follow all the criteria, all the laws? And then the DA advocates in the courtroom. So that's their lane. It's not that they don't want to do something more. It's just that's their lane.
Tell me this, because I think the average citizen is basically ignorant of politics and how the system works and how the government works. People don't trust the government, but they don't know the government, and if they don't get out and participate, then you're ignorant by yourself.
Well,
how do people educate themselves to what's going on? It's very important that we kind of know what's going on.
I'm leery of the information on the internet.
Oh God!
I'm very leery of it.
Oh God!
As a educator, but also as a student.
Right.
When you're in a doctorate program, you have to only go to certain sources. You're not allowed to get information from the general, I searched this.
Like Wikipedia.
Don't even start me with that. Yeah, when I was teaching as an adjunct, I used to tell my students, Wikipedia is off limits. Do not, that is not a source. And you have to know that. I can go on Wikipedia right now and put something on there.
Anybody can write on there.
Anybody.
So it's not certified.
It's not, no. but you have to go to periodicals. You have to go to real data to get information.
Okay. Well, see, I'm learning something here.
If you don't do that, then everybody else over here has had some say into it.
Right. Right.
And we all have triggers. We all have perspectives. We all have biases.
Right.
We have implicit bias.
Right.
So all that comes into what someone may have uploaded, downloaded, whatever. So you have to be careful. And that's the academic. That's the academic in me talking. So we I went to my doctor one time and I was like, hey, this thing with my knee, and he said, well, I can give you this or this. And I said, well, I don't want to take a pill.
Right.
I said, I need to figure out how to naturally. So, I work it in the pool, I wear the knee brace because I have injuries from the job. I've got injuries from the job. That's just that's what 30 years will get you.
Of course. Yeah.
And so, but he says most people come in and say, I've researched on the internet, and here are the 4 medicines I want you to prescribe for me.
Ah.
And he says he has to spend 30 minutes telling them why they don't need that.
Right.
Versus they want to self-diagnose, but they want him to write the prescription.
Well, yeah, I think, especially, and like I said, I don't want to get up to the upper level, but this whole believing in lies and spreading falsehoods, and they're lies, and you spread this stuff just to get a political advantage.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm dealing with that now, and it's ugly, and I could spend my time being upset about it, but I don't have time.
Right.
And so you have to realize that stuff kind of works out.
Right.
And for people that spread misinformation or blatant lies for political gain,
intentionally,
shame on them.
I agree.
Because karma is something else.
Well, that's why I lean heavily toward my faith. I have a belief system, and I'm willing to stand on my belief system. Stand firm on that, because a lot of people shift to impress somebody. I want to impress somebody, and so I don't want to impress anybody anymore. I just want to live truthfully, rightfully. I'm going to be courteous to everybody, try to treat everybody fair, but that's not everybody's agenda.
Well, you're responsible for you.
Right.
As I said before, I have 3 sons, and Eddie and I have been married over 40 years.
Right.
And he's a wonderful man and an excellent father. But now they're grown, and they have to choose to do what's right.
Did either of them go into law enforcement?
Oh, yeah. One of them went that way. But, they're all very, very good men, very well, they're respectful, and they're all married. And I have 6 little gorgeous grandchildren.
I saw a picture of your grandchildren.
They're amazing. I mean, you talk about being a nana.
Oh,
that
God.
Changes your life. You think you love your kids, but you love your grandkids.
I mean, I love spoiling my grandchildren. One of them live in my house, just turned 18, and another one is 16. But they're beautiful girls. I mean, and I just want to open the door for them. Just give them everything I can.
Yeah,
understanding what we had to go through. I don't want their lives to be inhibited by it, and I want them to learn to believe in themselves. You know what I mean? There are no barriers other than what you set for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what we have to teach our kids.
You do, and I have had a number of mentees where I teach them life skills, and avoid the social media and going on and airing all your dirty laundry and business because they don't know what they don't know. And when we're talking about the incarcerated youth, one of the things that hurt me dearly was that I didn't realize that I didn't realize.
Right.
And I was like, wow.
You didn't know what you didn't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so when we started talking about trauma-informed care and helping them to connect the dots, abandonment, issues with parents here or there, I thought, man, how grateful my children, how grateful I am that my children had a stable home environment, because if not, they could have gone that way.
Yeah.
But they had, like you just said, all these advantages and a 2-parent. And that's not always the case. My mother, she raised us, and let me tell you,
and you came out well.
we just fine.
Right.
But we did have the stability, and a lot of the youth do not, and they need the opportunity. And so that's what the rehabilitation is about: is not forgetting about the victim.
Right.
Victim is extremely important.
Right.
And they need, and most of them want that youth to do better.
Right.
Even though they've been harmed.
Right.
they want that youth to do better so they don't spend the rest of their life in prison. So everybody's, well, not everybody, but most people are trying to pull together to help them to be able to come out. And then you do honorable discharges, which I love, because you get to see that youth 18 months after they've completed their probation or further, and they get to come back and present how their transition was with work, if they're married, what their future holds, what they've been doing, and you get to give them grant them an honorable discharge, and let them go on with their life where their record is sealed.
And you know, and you see so many of our youth that gets trapped behind the 8 ball and they get involved in crime and they never can work themselves out. You have to help them get out of that. And somehow it seems like we're spending more money imprisoning them than helping them.
So I'm into prevention.
Right.
Prevention.
Right.
Intervention's great, but why can't we help prior to?
I like that.
Yeah, and so my, again, those programs that give you a lift. The PAL Center was wonderful. The Boys and Girls Club. All three of mine went to the Boys and Girls Club.
Mine too.
That was the babysitter after school until Dad could go and pick them up, because I never knew what my schedule was going to be. But those nonprofits that provide a safe place for our youth, so that if they do have a single parent or they can't get home and nobody's home, the street doesn't take care of them. Because the street has something for them too.
Oh yeah. Now we have about 6 minutes left, and I want to get off into your political campaign.
Okay.
How can people help you? Because you are obviously very well qualified.
Thank you.
What are some of your people who are supporting you? Is Chris Holden?
Chris Holden has endorsed me, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Some of the large names, that people know would be our California State Treasurer. Fiona Ma, she has endorsed me, as well as me. Malia Cohen, the controller. I love these ladies because they just I'm in, Assembly Member Tina McKinnon has endorsed me as, and I'm really, really grateful. Holly Mitchell, our LA supervisor, Hilda Solis, I'm so grateful for their endorsement. Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager has endorsed me. But the local endorsements, we just had a major fundraising quarter. And 70% of my fundraising came from local.
Wow.
And I'm just like, thank you.
Well, I mean, maybe I can add it in the screen later, but how would people support you, just ordinary people? Do you have a website?
I do. It's my very unique name.
Okay.
And it's on the screen. Phlunte Riddle. For Assembly. One word. Phlunte Riddle for
Assembly.
FOR assembly.com. And you can go on and say, I just saw some people this morning like, I want to walk for you. I want to do signs. I got a truck. I'll pick up your, and I'm like, okay, we're not there yet, but I have you written down.
And the good thing too, and I think I said this off camera, it seems like our leaders are forged out of life. All this wealth of experience you had qualifies you to be in the position that you're striving to be. And I try to tell my daughter and granddaughter, I said, you have to believe that you belong there.
I can see it.
I mean,
I can see the path.
I see it clearly in you.
Thank you.
I see it clearly in you.
And you do have to believe, but you also need your community to support you, because it's great to have people in Sacramento. But they're not the ones that vote.
I know.
And so those cities that I was sharing with you, and the high deserts that are now part of the district since the redistricting occurred, those are the ones that vote. We don't vote. There's projected right now, for the March was election in March, that only 35 to 40% of those, that's across the board.
Oh, wow.
35 to 40% will vote in the primary.
Wow.
And that's unfortunate, because you're talking about leaving the decision up to people that may not think like you. Because you think it doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, why do we have the Supreme Court? We do. I'm just going to go here 1 second. Every time I hear someone talk about, I didn't like her pantsuit. She didn't do this. She didn't present well. I think you don't understand what the president does. That's 1,000 conservative judges that were put on the bench during that 4 years.
Wow.
And that was 4 Supreme Court justices. You don't understand what your president does.
And I think
because you would come out and vote and make sure that did not happen.
Right, yeah. And I'll say that we probably get what we deserve, the people who don't vote. You mean, because they don't realize the power of, everybody say, well, my vote don't count. How do you counteract that?
Your vote counts.
How do you counteract that?
I have seen individuals lose city council, school boards with literally like 20.
Wow.
20. Less than that, 16. And you go home, that person goes home and cries. They're like, that's 16 people I couldn't convince to come vote for me.
Exactly.
16? You know, the legislature, for the Assembly and Senate, it can be just a few hundred.
Wow.
And I'm like, come on, people. Your vote counts. If you say you represent, you want me to represent you, then you have to come out and vote. And California's made it so easy.
Right. Do you have a ground team that's...
Oh, absolutely. I have a fabulous team. So Ken Shockins runs my campaign, my ground team, and then strategy group. They ran Mr. Holden, they ran Karen Bass, and they, they also ran on the first election President Obama's mail.
Wow.
Yes, I have a very good team, and I have a fabulous fundraiser. She's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to volunteer, they could just go to your website?
Just go to my website. The first thing that pops up is, how do you want to assist?
Right.
And
because
then,
a lot of people say, well, I can't do nothing big. Well, just do something small.
I literally have individuals that give on every 2 weeks. They have set up $25, and then I have donations from $20 all the way up to max out, which is $5,500.
Wow.
And I had my niece, you know, she called me and she said, Auntie, I can only do $25. I said, that's 25 more than I had before you called me.
There you go. Look, we only have 36 seconds left in this episode, but time goes by so fast.
Yes, it does.
Is there anything that we missed out that you would like to say?
Oh, lots of stuff.
Will you promise to come back?
Yes, I will.
Let's get another segment.
Just don't get me on that quarter.
No.
At the end of that quarter.
But it's such a delight talking to you. And like I said, I know you personally, and I want the people to know you. As
I appreciate that.
But I really feel that you're well qualified for the position.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to you being the Assembly member. And then I'm going to say, will you come on my show now that you're a big-time person?
Oh, I don't know about that. I'll always be a girl from John Muir High School.
There you go.
All right,
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir.
All right.
All right.